Hi there, Michael here. Welcome to my second Bazzite video. This time we'll be looking at installing Bazzite. Let's get an idea of the lay of the land. You have Windows 11 installed, and it's not bad, but you're getting quite frustrated with the updates breaking your system. Also, when you've planned to have a gaming session with friends and you step away for 5 minutes, Windows has decided that now's a good time to install updates. In my previous video, I discussed a gaming-centric Linux distro called Bazzite. In this video, I'm going to take you through dual booting your PC with Windows 11 and Bazzite. After the installation is complete, we're going to enable Secure Boot. Note that this is an optional step, but it's still a good idea to do so. Note that installing Linux on your gaming machine isn't going to make it astronomically more capable when it comes to gaming. So please keep your expectations in check. Before we start, here's an important checklist. Have you backed up your personal files on your PC? This is important as an installation of a new operating system, things can go wrong. You'll need a flash drive available of at least 8 gigs in size for your installation media. A fast and uncapped internet connection is preferable as the updates and the ISO are quite large. You'll need about an hour of free time to do the installation, and you'll also need some free space on your Windows install of about 25 gigs or so. Let's start with getting the Bazzite ISO. To get the ISO, we're just going to navigate to the Bazzite website, which is bazzite.gg. Now we're going to select to download Bazzite. What hardware are you using? In my case, I'm using a desktop. Which environment would you prefer? I'm going to select KDE. KDE is great if you're looking for something that looks similar to Windows. If you're going for GNOME, it will give something more of that looks a little bit more like a Mac. But all in all, you can select whichever one you like. I'm going to go with KDE. And since I have an NVIDIA GPU, I'm going to select NVIDIA. So once you're done with that, we're going to just download the ISO. The ISO is reasonably large, so it's going to take a little bit of time to download. Now that our ISO file is downloaded, we need a tool to make a bootable USB device. The options that we have are Ventoy, Rufus, and Etcher. Now, Rufus and Etcher only allow you to have one bootable image on a flash drive at a time. Ventoy, on the other hand, allows you to have as many as you want on a USB flash drive. Note that all of the options will format the flash drive. We're going to be using Ventoy. Once we're on the Ventoy site, we're going to select Windows version because we're using Windows 11. And we're just going to download Ventoy quickly. Now once Ventoy is downloaded, we're going to extract it like any normal zip file. So we're just going to go to downloads quickly, and we're going to extract Ventoy. And we're going to run the Ventoy to disk. And here we're going to select our flash drive. Here we make sure that Secure Boot is ticked, and we also want to make sure that GPT partitioning is selected. Now we are going to click on install. This will remove all the data, take note of that, for this USB drive. Say yes. And now that Ventoy is installed, we're going to copy our ISO file over onto the drive. I've taken a couple of ISO files and I've put them into two different directories. I've put in a Windows 10 and a Windows 11 ISO file, and in the Linux folder I've copied over our Bazzite and an Ubuntu ISO, just to demonstrate that you can boot multiple things. Now that we have our ISO files in place, we need to make a little bit of space on the C drive in order to install Bazzite alongside of Windows. To do this, we're going to right click on the Windows Start button. We're going to select Disk Management. We are going to right click on the C drive, shrink the volume. Over here we're going to give Windows a little bit more space. Then we don't want to shrink the drive to nothing, so we're going to give Windows 6 gigs. We're going to click on shrink, and now we've got an unpartitioned section on the drive in which we're going to install Bazzite. Now that we've shrunk Windows, we're going to disable Secure Boot. So let's restart the machine. And while it's restarting, I'm going to mash the escape key. Okay, now we're in the boot menu. I'm going to go to Device Manager. Note that different BIOSes will have Secure Boot in a different location. Generally it's in advanced settings, but over here I'm going to turn off Secure Boot. If you can't find your Secure Boot settings, just have a look at your laptop make or your desktop motherboard make. Have a quick Google search and see where you'll find these settings. Now, before I restart and before we go any further, this is a point of no return. If something goes wrong, you could lose data at this point. So if you haven't made that backup, now's a good time. What we're going to do now is we're going to restart the box again, and we're going to mash escape again, get to the boot menu. We're going to say boot manager, and we are going to boot the USB device over here, which has Ventoy on it. Okay, here, as you can see, we've got all of the options to boot Bazzite, Ubuntu, Windows 10 or Windows 11. If you noticed before, those were the 4 ISOs that I put onto this device. We are going to boot Bazzite in normal mode. Note that Bazzite doesn't have a live USB mode, you just have the option to install it. All this text is normal. And here we are. We're at the installer screen. We're just going to select the language that we want. I'm not sure why it's selected Afrikaans. I prefer English. And English United States is fine. We're going to continue. And now we need to select where we want Bazzite installed. Since we're going to do a dual boot and there's only one option, we only have one thing to tick over here. If you click on it, it will untick it. So we want it ticked. If you had multiple drives, and that's one of the preferred ways of installing Bazzite, you would plug in an external drive and you could install it to there. We're going to go for just this internal drive over here. I don't want root access. We're going to leave that off. And then for the user, I'm just going to call it tester as before and put a password on it. As you can see, there's nothing with an exclamation mark on it, so we can proceed with the install. Note that even up to this point, you're fine to back up your data and go back. As soon as we click on begin installation, this is the point of no return. Okay, it starts off with creating the file system. And once it's done creating the file system, this part of the installation can take quite some time. This deployment starting could take 5 to 10 minutes. Looks like it's on to the next step. It's installing the bootloader. The install should be almost finished now. The line showing the installation is a little bit deceptive, as it takes a very long time with the initial piece, and then suddenly it's done. Did you see that? It went from 50% to complete. Now Bazzite is installed. When we reboot though, it's going to do a little bit of setup before we can log in. This Perform Mock management screen is a part of Secure Boot. Over here, we are going to enroll the key for Bazzite. We'll do that by clicking on the enroll option here. If you look at the key, you'll see that it's a UBlue key. This stands for Universal Blue. Now we're going to select to enroll the key, say yes, and we're going to type a password here, ublue-os. You'll notice that nothing appears while you type. This is normal. And now we can reboot the machine. Okay, and now in the boot, before we can log in, it needs to do some initial setup again. Very much like a Windows 11 installation, where you think you're done and there's always one more step. Okay, this is part 1 of 2, I believe. All right, it's on the next step. This one also takes quite a while. Finally, it's finished. Now we're going to log into Bazzite normally. So here's our setup wizard. Welcome to Bazzite. So we do want those. We have to put our password in again. Next, yeah, we do want those. The NVIDIA part is complete. Application installation. Here, if you want to install any additional applications, you can select them, but honestly, you can do this at a later point in time. So we're just going to skip through this section, and we're going to click on done, and there we go. We're done with the installation. The next step that we want to do is we want to enable Secure Boot again. So now we're going to restart the machine and then mash the escape button. Okay, we're in our boot menu and we want to turn Secure Boot on. Reset the machine. Now that the machine is restarted, we're just going to log in again quickly. To check that Secure Boot is enabled, we're going to open the terminal and we're going to use mockutil sb state. And over here we can see that Secure Boot is enabled. Once you've completed the steps in this guide, you can start gaming in Bazzite. If you need any help with getting Steam set up or getting the stores installed in Lutris, have a look at my other video in the playlist. If you liked this video, please comment, like and share. Thank you very much. Goodbye.